Are you stuck in the 50K per month or even per year trap for your agency? Then listen up, because today I'm going to reveal how we got out of that no man's land into 200K per month in revenue and the strategies, techniques that you can use to get there quickly and stop being stuck in that no man's land. So let's dive in. The point of this video is basically how to create balance and scalability for your agency, right? So I'm going to be breaking down 4 key things that we used to go from that 50K a month to 200K a month in revenue. The first one is employee onboarding. Second one, how to delegate. The third one is get a VA in quickly. And then the fourth one is we're going to tie your value to cash. But first of all, let me explain who I am. My name is Colby Wechter, and I'm actually late to the entrepreneurial game. Started the agency when I was 27, finally wanted to build something, and we did it all with no clients, no investment or anything like that. We bootstrapped it and went from 0 clients and $0 in 2016 to now we are a top 1% digital marketing agency in the world, doing 200K a month in revenue with only 6 employees. But I also burnt out a ton in those first 5 years of building the agency. So the point of this video is to show you how I was able to reverse that so that we could continue to scale, but do it with less stress and in a fraction of the time. The reason you should really care and watch this video is not only because of my experience, but also because if you're experiencing feast or famine months, or you just feel like the entire business runs through you, you need some sort of advocacy on how to reverse that. So I'm going to help you do that. And by doing that, that'll actually help increase your focus. You can work on things you want to do. You'll eliminate those feast and famine months, and then you can start building creatively, turning your agency into something that actually delivers that lifestyle that you were after when you first started, even though it's not right now. It is reversible. So not only if you apply what you learn in this video in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, will you build with less stress, you'll also be able to retain clients better, establish more cash flow, and create what I like to call a great business, not a good one. A great business is built on systems and the process, not based on your individual talent. So that's what we're going to learn today. And let's start with employee onboarding. So the first thing when you're doing employee onboarding, and this is after years and years of trial and error, is that you actually need to find your top person. And you definitely need to find the top person based on how they fit in the culture way more than their actual skill set. They need to do the job, but I've said for years with my employees is that I can teach you marketing, I can teach you how to deliver for clients, but I can't teach you how to be a good person, right? And so when you're looking for your number one person, they should probably stand out pretty clearly, right? But do so on the characteristics of identity, reliability, and then honesty or trustworthiness, whatever you want to say, right? But every single person I've hired based on skill set has really lacked in these. And that's just been my personal experience. I'm not saying you can't find both, but you really need to be looking for these first, right? So what do they identify with? Do they identify with being a good person? Because chances are they will be reliable and honest. You always want people who feel empowered to make a mistake and tell you about it and then fix it before you actually have to worry that it's a true problem. So how I do this is really, really simple. I just put them on an onboarding plan, and it's meant to be insanely difficult. This is meant to be as hard as you can possibly imagine for them to go through, because if you are trying to pass the keys over to your agency or any service business, you are taking care of customers. And if you're the primary person who the customers value and want to work with, you need to know that you're not just leaving them in the lurch just because you need a break, right? And so that onboarding plan needs to feature a whole bunch of stuff. Let me actually show you what one of my employees going through it right now looks like. So you can see here, they have a ton of stuff, identifying roadmaps, talking about maintenance plans, spotting opportunities, upsells, all that sort of stuff. It's all jam-packed into micro tasks within here. These are just kind of the main ones. And then they're grouped by, is she doing it solo? Is she doing it with me? And then in a sprint format as well. So by putting these into different categories in terms of what they need to accomplish on their own versus what you're going to help them with, I recommend something like this. It's titled AP for acceleration plan or something like that, as this person's up for a promotion, but they still have to fulfill, is that do it for 6 months, if you're only going to meet weekly, maybe once or twice a week, or if you feel like you really need to get this off your plate and sprint and get somebody in the slot to do great work, then you're going to want to be meeting 3 or 4 times a week. I know it sounds like a lot, but so long as you have a straightforward plan for them to execute, you can basically keep them on track. And then if they fail, it's meant to be a stress test, right? So if they can't accomplish it, or they have a change of heart or something like that, then you know that this is not for them and you have to keep looking, unfortunately. Now, so if you have your number one person and that's sorted, then you really want to be moving into your employees doing well also, right? It's not a great place for you to say, take the vacation you so rightly deserve and then have to come back to work with a ton of fires or a million messages or something like that. And so you want to be delegating as quickly and as effectively as possible. The main way to scale with less stress is by delegating a ton of accountability to other people. So the best way I know to set them up for success is an employee roadmap. And lucky you for watching this video, I'll show you my exact template for the video here as well. So if we're looking at the employee roadmap, you can see here, it's really, really simple. I designed this in Canva. There's nothing sexy about it. It just works, okay? And so if we look into the details of this, you can see you can actually copy this and make it your own. This first bit is just talking about the mini contract you have with the employee. But what's most important about the employee roadmap is that you are getting their goals. For them to take ownership, for them to have agency and to actually help the company, they need to feel like they're moving their personal career forward as well. If you don't have that, you're not really in a good state to demand from them. And so as you can see here, the top is talking about the actual projections and the metrics that they need to hit. The bottom is talking about the why. You always want to give why when it comes to, should this employee do this at all? Because context is the key to get them to where they want to be. But as you see here, like a special project or something like that, it's also incredibly important for the employee to be leaning into their interests, right? So some of my employees are interested in social media. Some of them are interested in advertising. Some of them are interested in operations. Give them something that they can lean into, because if they don't really take that and run with it, even though you know it's an interest of theirs, they're not going to be well suited for all the hard stuff. If they can't get excited about the fun stuff, they're never going to be excited about the hard stuff. And these are really clear kind of dividing lines. Not that you have to get rid of the employee by any means, but you know you can't count on them if you need to give them more responsibility. And this goes several months out. What's important in the way I do it is if they hit it in the time, you just mark it as green. If they don't hit it in the time, you mark it as red. If it's still outstanding, then it can stay black, just as an example, right? And so you can also gather their long-term goals and that sort of stuff. I highly recommend moving this out to 6 months. It is hard if it's a new employee because you don't know them really well. If the employee's worked with you for a while, you don't have to do this at the beginning. Any employee will be head over heels happy about this, no matter if they're on day 1 with you or day 1000 with you. If they've never had something like this before, you are going to impress them, and then they'll start to impress you. The next step you're going to want to take is get a VA in quickly. Right now, there are a million different ways to do it. I highly recommend, if funds are important to you and you don't have a ton of cash to splash, I would not start in the United States. I'm certainly not doing that right now, but I have 2 VAs working for me, one of which who's going to edit this video, another who is helping me with social media. They are essentially replicating myself so that I can get double the amount of work done in a single week. You need that same thing, because there's a million little niggly things that you have to do that you just simply can't get done in a week by yourself, nor will you be focused enough to get it done well. And so without having to dive in crazy, one place I recommend is onlinejobs.ph. You can find VAs from the Philippines who are highly skilled and are not at hourly wages that will break the bank. But what you'll be looking for from that VA is essentially testing their knowledge. So you'll want to test to make sure that they can actually do the job you're requiring of them. You want frequent communication to make sure that they are staying on track and that they follow you. And then you want process most of all right? So the process I highly recommend Loom is just as this video is being recorded right now, I could turn this into a standard operating procedure if I wanted to. Loom now has that on their paid plan. So what you do is you record a screen share of the video, and then you use their AI tool, which is one of the best. Loom is my favorite tool of all time, and you will let the AI actually write the process in writing, and of course they'll have the video as well. You simply put those processes onto a knowledge base, a spreadsheet, whatever you need to do, and now your VA knows exactly what to do because they've seen you do it. So you do it once, they do it forever, and if they don't remember how to do it or they don't do it well, they'll just reference the video and save you a ton of time. Finally, the most important thing you need to be doing is tying your value to cash flow, not tying it to time, not tying it to delivery. If you do the process piece correctly, if you delegate correctly, if you find a number one person who can actually help you in managing other employees if you're at that stage, or even managing other VAs, you then come down to how can I move this business forward? So one example that I personally have is we had a client paying us $5K a month, but because I was able to delegate over the years, that freed up time for me to think about how to upsell a client based on conversations I had with them before. I leveraged a lot of meetings with them, and they mentioned that they wanted more services than what we were providing. So that's a simple response in that, can I provide those services, yes or no? So what we did was we added social media, we added advertising, we added email when all they were getting was organic SEO marketing. And now when we bundle those together, we have a multi-channel approach. And because they wanted those things and I pitched it well, they then turned into a $15K a month client, and all of that was done from a slide presentation. None of this was built ahead of time. It was simply, I've heard this, I've created this potential option. What do you think about that? And it was enough for them to triple their value with us. So you should always be thinking of ways to bring in cash flow, right? Does that mean sending more emails? Does that mean doing more calls? Does that mean being more diligent with building a personal brand? Whatever it may be, these are items that will help move the business forward, because delivering for clients can only take you so far. An hour in a meeting with a client is an hour in a meeting with a client. There's not a ton of leverage there. So my final recommendation though is if it takes a little bit longer for you to get these processes in, I don't want this to be an entire top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel video. I highly recommend that you pitch on every call. And the way to do it is simply ask a question or hear a question. If you hear a question, then say, what would you think if we did this? Basically, you're asking a question and then you hear something. And so this circles back and forth and back and forth. Anytime a client mentions anything that is not exactly what you're doing right now, ask a follow-up question. Tell me more about that. Where have you seen examples of this? These sorts of things. The more you can do that, the more you're going to build upsell potential, the more value you're going to be giving to clients because they feel heard. Right? So if you're stuck in 50K months or even a 50K year, you need to start thinking like you're operating at a 200K a month value right now. So if you are doing everything yourself, you need to start processing things out. That's a simple Loom video a day and put it into a spreadsheet. You can find virtual assistants in the Philippines for $5 an hour. If you can actually free up your time, pick an A player or a version of what you heard in this video, then you'll be able to actually start tying your value to the dollars you bring in. One way is pitching on every call or increasing your top of funnel. Any of those items is going to help the business. The final step of all this is when you're actually pitching on every call, when you're helping clients on every call, or even in emails, they feel heard, which means they stick around for longer. And that is really what I'm down for, is building a less stressful business by keeping clients forever. So if you have clients churning in under a year, or you just feel like you're doing everything on your own and you need support, I am working on a community that will help agency owners just like you accomplish both of those things, keeping clients forever and getting other people around you who are in the same space as you, trying to build, but build better. And if you're looking for more tips, more stories, or anything from my journey that will help you grow to go from 10K a month to 200K a month, then feel free to click the link in the description below. It has my newsletter there. I'm writing there weekly about those experiences, the tips and strategies that I've used over the past to get to those 200K months with less stress. And if you feel like you need a more personal conversation, I am totally down. I love the problem solving. So feel free to send me a DM on LinkedIn. I check those every day, and doesn't matter what the word is, just DM me, say, hey, I saw your video, and then we can chat. I would love to hear more about your agency, and I hope this video helps.